Hello and g'day. In today's video we're making DIY glassine napkins using tea light candles. I've also made a part 2 of this video with a couple of extra ideas that I come up with while I was making these faux glass napkins. You're gonna love it. It's using the same technique, melting the candle wax with the iron, but with a twist. I've got 2 new ideas to share. It's a colour transfer and a bit of collaging. Once you know how to do the basic method from using this video, you'll be able to take it up a notch using my tips in part 2. So more about that in the next video. I'll start by showing you how to separate the napkin plies, and then a little bit about the candle wax, and then how to do the faux glassine technique. So let's get started. When you get a napkin, they come in what they call ply. So if you've seen 2-ply or 3-ply, this is what they're talking about. This is a brand new napkin. When you unfold it, it's quite thick. You can't see my hand through it. On the other side, it's white. And that's because it's got a few layers of the tissue. So if I pull that layer off, sometimes it comes off pretty easy, which this one is. And we can use this removed layer, so don't throw it out, keep it. Now, if you're lucky, you can grab the next ply and pull it off. But I'm never that lucky. So just grab a little piece of sticky tape, and the sticky tape goes on the napkin. Hold your napkin here and just rip it a little bit. And what you're aiming to do is just see if it's going to remove another layer of the backing, which it is. So once you get that second layer, it's very hard to pick this one off with your fingers. So this is a great technique for removing the second layer, or ply if you like, by using this sticky tape method. So just then go along and peel that off. Comes off easy then. Once you get that first bit lifted, you just pull it off. Go all the way around. It tends to want to stick pretty well because it's the one that's right next to the print. So don't go like a crazy woman. Just peel it off until you get it all the way back to that corner. Sometimes you get a print, a very light print, where the print transfers from here to here, and that's usable. Take that bit of sticky tape off and chuck it. I don't leave it on there because I don't want it to transfer onto anything else. So put that one away. Now you're left with a single layer, 1-ply napkin or tissue. I'll get this cleared up and I'll show you how it's done. Look at the big bag of wax. This is paraffin wax. So I'll get some of this wax out and show you what it does. We've also got your standard pillar, which is the paraffin wax. This is also a paraffin wax, but they've coloured it to make it look like beeswax. The tea light candle, it's 100% paraffin wax. This is a beeswax. It's from our local bee maker here where I live. So I'll scrape a bit of that out and I'll show you how that looks as well. The difference will be the paper will be transparent when I use this colour, and it'll have a bit of a vintage look when I use the beeswax. To use a tea light candle, this one here I've had burning for a little while, and you can see that it's very liquid. It's already melted. To use a tea light, just lift the wick up, holding the wick, just lift it out of its container. The wicks come out, they're very loose, they come out very easy. Just put it aside. I've got my scrapey tool and I just scraped. That is one candle. All of that there is one candle. Using this area here to scrape, it scrapes really easy. It's quite soft. And just go all the way around. If you're using a pillar candle, it's exactly the same. Just scrape and scrape the wax off into a little pile. The beeswax, exactly the same. Just get some little shavings out. I've got a piece of baking paper. It's just a normal cooking paper. I've got a piece on the bottom. So here is my ironing board. This is the layer. I'm going to get another piece on the top. So you start with 2 sheets and I'm going to use them like a sandwich. So the napkin will go in between. I'm going to put my printed single layer napkin on the top of the bottom sheet of the non-stick paper and sprinkle it with the tea light candle wax. I'm only putting it on top of the napkin. You'll get to know how much you need to put on after you've made your first one. So just cover it up and start pressing it with the hot iron. It only takes a couple of seconds for the wax to melt. Then you start spreading it around and use the iron to push the wax to all the corners and the edges. You can see it through this paper. Once it's completely covered with the wax, just use the iron to smooth it out and make sure it's all over the whole napkin before you remove it. So let's have a look. It should be completely wet like this. You just grab the corner here. I wave it to give it a dry just so it'll hurry up for you here on camera. It dries really fast and you can just hold it still if you want. Isn't it just so cool? I think it's amazing how candle wax does this. The beeswax is quite chunky because I had to scrape it out, like dig it out. So I'm going to leave it in the middle so it doesn't spread out here too far. Now I'll melt that first and then I'll start spreading it out because it's a bit chunkier. You'll get the idea of it. You'll get yourself a method going once you start. You can sort of see, I'm hoping you can see that it's a bit more yellow, and now I'm going to use my iron to spread it out. Bring it back in and make use of what I've got. You're going to love the beeswax, it's lovely to use. Peel it off. And do the same again. Just give it a little wave and let it dry. All 3 work, so you can use whatever you've got at home. I haven't used the soy. If you've got any soy wax, you could give it a try, but I haven't got any. The white works the best. It becomes the most transparent. Anything with a white background will give you the glassine look. If it's the glassine you're after, use the white. I'm just going to use the normal paraffin wax. These are the pellets. I find it's easier to melt them first before you spread them out. Now I'm going to put my top sheet on. So make sure that your wax paper is way bigger. All right, then just melt your wax first. So I'm pressing down. Once I've pressed down and melted my wax, you can see it starting to bubble out and press around. Now I'm going to use the iron like a squeegee, and I'm going to push it all around where it needs to go on this. You can sort of see it. It might be a little more difficult for you, but here at the table, I can see it quite well. I can see where it's gone on all of the napkin, and I can also see where it's missed, and I'll show you. I'm going to peel that back, and you can see it's missed there, and it's got the wax there. So all we need to do in that instance is lift that up. You see how all the wax, it's all wet there, and you just put a few more beads where you've missed it. So I'm going to melt that bit there, and it starts to spread pretty quickly. I've got my iron on quite hot too, by the way, between cotton and linen. Right, now that's melted. That corner there, melted, and that corner. All right, now I'm going over the whole lot again. That's the tip to getting it to work in and blend back in. Otherwise, you're going to have marks on your corner. Whoops, there's a bit I've missed there. Bring that out. Use your iron to get that little bit that you've missed. You need to work reasonably quickly to get your napkin off the paper, because it will start to dry very quickly. This one's ripped because the paper is so fragile, and I really pushed hard on it. I wrinkled it. But look, see what I mean by using white? How transparent it is? The white is by far the best if you want the glassine. But isn't that magic stuff? Doesn't it do a wonderful job? Another tip I can give you is don't try and do a giant piece. If you have a napkin that is a full-size napkin, it's more difficult to do a really large size. You know, tone it back. Try and do something that's smaller, like that. It's way more manageable. But see here how I'm pretty close to the edge of my paper, and the same here. I would make this non-stick paper wider. I'd make it longer that way and longer that way, because when you press, the wax will come out, and you'd be surprised how it finds its way out here. Look at this. It's found its way out here on me. Before I pack up, I'll show you the backing piece. This was the white ply that I took off a full sheet, right? And you get this left over. All I do is make it smaller so it's much easier to handle. So I'm just going to trim it down the side so that I've got two pieces instead of one great big one, because remember I said how hard it is to wax it if it's a great big sheet. So I just trim it down the side, and all that'll do is give me now two sheets. So I've just released one of the folds. So open it back up. So what I'll do here is just make this a plain piece of glassine, and I can then turn this into a little envelope. If you're just using shavings, it melts a lot quicker. These little pellets are just a little bit bigger, so they take a little bit more to melt, but not much. It is very fine, this backing sheet. Just find one corner, then the other one, and lift it up. Doing the wave again. And because it's so thin, it is going to dry really, really quick. I'm just holding it like this still for a little while just so you can actually see it and watch it dry. Now I'm going to bring in the other piece just to show you the comparison. Okay, so do use your leftover pieces as well. You never throw them out because we can always use them. So I can make an envelope out of this little now faux glassine piece. Please stick around for the slideshow. I've made quite a few more than I demonstrated in this video. See you in part 2, where I show you how to do the colour transfer technique, plus some collaging using the candle wax iron method. Enjoy the slideshow and bye for now.
Trying not to let my feelings get to me. Sometimes I can't let them go. So now I got these voices. Now I got these voices in my head, baby. I can focus. Feels like I've been hypnotized. Now I'm terrified of losing you. Touching your body, but feeling like I'm all alone. You don't seem to want me, even though you told me so. And baby, I wonder if we should just go separate ways. We could start over. We could start over. Trying not to let my feelings get to me. Sometimes I can't let them go. So now I got these voices. Now I got these voices in my head, baby. I can focus. Feels like I've been hypnotized. Now I'm terrified of losing you.
I'll see you in part 2. I'm Donna, and bye for now.